Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, and welcome to Work Trends with Meghan M. Biro. Whether you're here to network, learn, or share, we want you to have fun. During this live broadcast and Twitter chat, we'll discuss the future of work with smart and entertaining guests who value today's business and its impact on the world of work for the future. Stay tuned, because we start in 3, 2, 1.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another informative Talent Culture Work Trends live podcast and Twitter chat. Thanks to my friends and my sponsors and the community at large. You make all of this possible. Thanks for being here. Thanks for tuning in. So today's topic, this one is one that's very near and dear to me, and I know to many of you out there as well. It's an extremely important topic in the world of work, education, and when we talk about the biz world, economic prosperity too. I think the world of education and business are at a precipice right now in relation to what we need to do to keep our economy chugging along without slowing down the advancements needed for this country to remain an economic leader. Depending on what side you're on the fence, I know this has been a very long month for us in politics, as we know. And this, I think, this is a political topic. There's no way around it. I think it's awesome. This is where a movement like STEM comes in, right? For anyone out there who is not aware of STEM, this is an acronym for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics in relation to business in academic initiatives and movement in the country and others too. So we're going to unpack STEM much more today. I have a really talented and awesome woman here today by the name of Rachael Mann, and she is the Network to Transform Teaching Director for Arizona and plans STEM and CTE professional learning for educators. She is a virtual TEDster who assists educators around the country in applying the principles of her TED Talks in the classroom for presentation delivery. She also shares tools for teaching presentation literacy. So we are very excited to have Rachael in the house, and I'm especially interested to dive into this topic with all of you. So let's get this party started, shall we? If you're out there and you're tweeting, utilize work trends as a hashtag. We'd love to hear from you. Weigh in. We want your voice to be heard for sure. Hey, Rachael, what's happening?
Hi, Megan. Thank you for inviting me. I'm really excited to talk about this topic. This is something that is so important. Like you were saying, it's important not only in education, but to the economy, to the workforce. So I think this is a timely topic for us to discuss today.
So tell us just a little bit about where you live right now, just a little bit about Rachael, the person.
Okay, yeah, I live in Arizona. I actually grew up in West Virginia and taught secondary school in Virginia, Northern Virginia, for almost 14 years, and also taught in Arizona before moving to the Department of Ed and working with career and technical education. And that's actually where I really gained an interest in STEM education, is looking at the teacher shortage that we already have in Arizona and across the country, and just an outlook for teaching for STEM areas. It's an area that's so important, but we also are having a hard time gaining teachers, and when it comes down to it,
no doubt.
in order to have a strong economy, we have to produce students that are interested in these areas.
So what about, I don't know if it's your upbringing, your goals, your dreams, what motivated you to become an ambassador for the STEM movement? Because everyone has that story, right? That's what I find so interesting about people. We all have our own unique story. What's your story, and how did STEM become such a powerful piece of your story right now?
All right. So for most of my teaching career, I was a career and technical education teacher and taught culinary arts to high school students, and was always intrigued by the concepts that were within my discipline that tied in with the science, the technology, the math, and even looking at, now we have food engineers that's a new field that's huge, and it's making a difference on solving world hunger. So I think that just seeing all of those connections and seeing the need for STEM education and the impact it can have, and especially the technology piece. I love using technology and seeing what's out there and seeing what's being engineered and cooked up next. So it's something that's fascinating to me, and I enjoy seeing it unfold and develop.
Breaking news. Did you just say what's cooked up next? Did I just hear that right?
Yes, you did.
And is your last name Mann with a double N? This is
Why,
good stuff.
Yes, it is.
Interesting indeed. So listen, here's a absolutely startling fact about the need for technical people in the U.S. right now. Does everybody have their seatbelts on, coffee in hand or not? In May of 2016, a jobs report conducted by CNN Money, they've got some cred, right? They indicated there's currently 5.8 million job openings, which is a symptom of a growing problem we have here in the U.S., right? Employers can't find enough skilled workers for tech jobs. Still, right? I think this is in part due to the great strides in technology, of course, as we know. That's where I've lived most of my career. But I also believe it's due to the short-sightedness of both academia and business. Why are we not working together collaboratively? This is something I've been talking about for a gazillion years now, to actually promote technical careers, and not just to some students, but to all students, and especially younger girls. Let's be honest, right? Is this a flaw in our society right now? Is this a preconceived notion of women being in careers still that require softer skills? Like, what's up with this?
Yes, and it does reflect a flaw in our society and just the gender stereotypes that exist regarding what's considered non-traditional careers for women. And we need to find ways to defy these gender stereotypes if we're going to make a change, and find ways to encourage more females to pursue STEM-related fields so that we can help fill these skills gaps and these shortages of STEM workers. And what's interesting is research shows that this problem isn't just about what's happening in the higher ed. It goes all the way back to the developmental stages of children and the toys they play with. So when you think about what toys girls usually play with versus the blocks and the Legos that boys are given to play with, studies show that because of the spatial skills and the cognitive skills that are developed as children, as males versus females, that actually makes a difference in their interests as they're growing up, and even how well they perform in different subject areas such as STEM.
Rachael, are we seeing this in young children around the world, or is this just something that's happening here in the U.S. from your perspective, by the way, when we're talking about this topic?
I would have to say it's globally. I just saw an article yesterday talking about how girls in India who are learning how to code and how that's such a big breakthrough. I think that it's something that's kind of a global issue that everyone is seeing a need to push through these barriers and make an impact and make a difference.
Interesting. Well, I mean, I think although women fill close to half of all jobs in the U.S., by the way, they hold less than 25% of STEM-related jobs right now. And at the same time, 43% of school-age children today are African-American, Latino, or of Native American descent. Yet, this is what's staggering to me, all of the engineering bachelor's degrees in the U.S., less than 15% are awarded to underrepresented minorities. So wondering from your perspective, I mean, what can we do to reconcile these opposing trends so that the composition of our STEM education pipeline actually reflects our shifting demographics that are so prevalent right now, right, that we've been talking about for a number of weeks, certainly leading up to that election, right? What's going on with that?
For sure. Well, and I think that that's something that we do have some schools that are doing a great job of addressing this. There's a school in Arizona called Peoria Met, and Met stands for Medical Engineering and Technology. And one of the things that they're doing to address this issue is they're making sure that underrepresented populations are being mentored with folks who are successful in these STEM career areas, so that it's encouraging youth, it's providing them with role models, but then it's also helping the students develop these different skill sets. But I also think about folks like Sheryl Sandberg when we go back to Women in STEM and a book that she wrote with the topic Lean In, and she refers to a comment that Warren Buffett made where he said that in reality he was only competing against half the population. When it comes down to it, when you look at, he was referring to women, but when you look at minorities and the discrepancies there, he was really competing against much less than that. So one of the quotes that Sheryl said was, when more people get in the race, more records will be broken and achievements will extend beyond to really benefit us all. And I think that in STEM, that's especially true and important.
Interesting. So if one of the factors to help support the STEM movement is to introduce students at an earlier age to sciences and math, why do you think so many school systems fail to meet this need right now? And are there trends happening both? I'm sure you're really close to what's happening in Arizona, but are we seeing trends across the board in the U.S. right now on that front as well?
Well, Megan, I think that it's a commonality across the United States is that we have this focus on testing. And so more time is spent on developing student skills in areas that they're going to be tested on because of the growing stakes for accountability. So when there's pressure to earn high ratings, if you're in an area that has school grades and you have the community pressuring schools to make sure that those scores are high, that's automatically going to cause schools and teachers to really focus on areas such as language arts and math, and sometimes ignore these other skills such as science, technology, and engineering that are so important to the future for the students and for our society. And it's really,
are you seeing change? I mean, it's like, what's happening? You're in the trenches every day in this. Like, are you seeing that needle move?
It's very political, and we know that we're going to have a lot of changes coming up with the new administration for across the country. So we'll see what will happen as changes start to occur. But we really have to find a way to help teachers because they have so much that they're trying to fill into a school day already. How do they fit in these vital areas such as STEM? Or how do they refocus and reinvent education so that we're not looking at isolated subjects, but we're looking at education as a whole or skill sets as a whole? So how do we re-examine how we're looking at education to make it more effective for what we need for our future and to keep up with the changes that are happening?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, what can we do? What can parents do? What can aunts and uncles do? Mentors, cousins, you name it. Like, what can we all do to keep science and math in front of students in a fun and encouraging way right now? Because I just feel like if we don't all step into this, we're not going to make a difference. It just feels like we've really lost a lot of momentum here. So, like, what can we all do, like, right now for the next year to make this more pressing, more fun, more encouraging, more of a movement, in your opinion?
Well, our students are natural explorers. I don't think that it takes effort to make students really want to explore and learn these areas. I think it's providing the right environment. And some things that I see being done now is creating maker spaces where kids and families can go in and start tinkering together and figuring out problems they want to solve and creating, engineering things that they think are will make an impact. Or even schools that are offering passion projects or Genius Hour that's modeled after Google, where there's 20% time, where students are able to really explore and dig into some of these areas that are of interest to them. Another thing is there's apps. There's an app called Bedtime Math that parents can make learning fun and as an activity right before they go to bed. Get on the app. There, you've got your technology and your math in one, plus some quality time with your child right before bedtime.
Ah, very cool. We should all check out that app. What's it called again?
It's called Bedtime Math. And learning should be fun.
Math.
So,
somebody have a hashtag? Somebody better hashtag that.
I know they're on Twitter.
Alert. Nice. Well, shout out, because I think that's a brilliant app. I mean, with all the apps that we're absolutely inundated with, and half of them I think are like, in my opinion, a complete waste of time. I mean, what about an app like that? Let's celebrate that, right? I think there's so much cool things we can be doing. It's amazing. So what about parents? How can they band together and work with their local schools and children to keep science and math top of mind in a strong program in their community? Because as we know, a lot of this has to do with that whole political system we're talking about, right? I mean, there's some heavy politics there, so it's
well, and so sometimes it is a matter of staying in touch with your policymakers, being involved in parent-teacher associations, but getting involved in other ways that's actually supporting schools and supporting teachers, such as volunteering to host an after-school club for robotics, or there's a website called code.org, and they encourage everyone, even adults. I think it's they say like 3 to 103, but I host an hour of code event to encourage students and adults alike to start learning code together. But just finding ways to really get involved, make learning fun. It's okay if it gets messy, but we're learning together, finding out what doesn't work and finding out what does work.
And how can role models step in and set examples? And how are careers in the sciences and math more interesting to build from your perspective? Like, what ideas are you working with the community on right now, more specifically, or do you have case studies?
Well, I think that looking for ways to volunteer, sometimes that can be time consuming. So even doing a virtual guest speaking with a college or with a high school with a group of students. The other day I was asked by a college to talk about global collaboration and creative communication, and we jumped on virtually because I had a keynote earlier that day. So we were on virtually, and we had a great time discussing how to use different tools such as Periscope and to really collaborate with folks around the world. And it's fun,
hearing
it's easy.
About
you
Periscope,
can do it from home.
Right? Yeah.
Right. But there's so many different tools to collaborate with all the technology we have at our fingertips. And another idea is to host a virtual field trip where students can virtually see what your work environment's about, find out where there's potential job shortages, and maybe do a Q&A with some of the folks who work at the business, but really getting involved in ways that doesn't require necessarily leaving your work site if that's a time consumption piece, but finding ways to collaborate non-traditionally.
Because we're a pretty social community, so we're always fascinated to talk about how communication tools like Twitter, like Periscope, like Facebook Live, right? I mean, we're all moving towards video, right, and visual content more and more. Are you seeing students use video and visual content, or teachers or people in your business community? I mean, talk to us in this community a little bit more about social media and digital and what you're seeing unfold. Are there surprises to you that, you're not using more of one tool than the other? I mean, just talk to us a little bit about that side of this.
Well, and that's such an important topic because right now our students have at their fingertips the ability, entire world, and you can't take that back. Some of the things that get posted, that's going to impact them for the rest of their lives potentially. So I think it's so important to really teach students how to use these collaboration tools, how to use their voice in a responsible way. And that goes hand in hand with STEM. How are you being a global citizen when you're using these different tools? But I do see students using these, and even organizations such as Ed Rising, FFA, DECA, some of the student organizations within CTE, they really embrace these tools and make them part of some of their state and national competitions, which I think is great. It's really teaching them how to use their voice in a responsible way.
And at what age are you seeing this become either appropriate in your opinion or, timely? I mean, what are you seeing in terms of age groups and adoption from this perspective?
From what I've seen, it's been mostly more of your high school students that is starting to get involved in the high school levels, maybe ninth grade, and then working their way up. I think that we have to be careful too with even protecting the identity of children, and they have to learn how to use these tools in a responsible way. So it's important not to jump in too quickly with giving too many tools and too much access.
Then you may not be friends with me on Facebook, because I tell you, I got a lot of friends out there, and we're learning all sorts of things about their families and their kids. And so, I mean, we're very much we live in a sharing society, right?
That is
so
true.
I think you and I mean, I think you're coming from your certain lens, which I can appreciate. But like when I look at like my friends, my colleagues, my community at large, it's a real mixed bag in terms of how people are sharing their lives with the rest of the world.
Now, do you think it's more of the parents sharing out for the younger children, or allowing children
Definitely.
to access?
See, definitely a lot of parents, a lot of proud parents out there, which is amazing. Yes. You know, it's amazing. It keeps life more interesting.
But they're making those choices. Yeah, it is.
Right. Right. And the interesting thing to me is, at what point do kids start making their own choices about it? And what will they say 10 years from now about how mom and dad and you know, auntie and uncle or whoever, cousins, how we all have been sharing stories? I think it's really fascinating, actually, if you look at it from that perspective, because there's so much mass adoption still happening on channels. I know, like, recently I have fallen in love with Instagram. Like, if you hang out with me on Instagram, that's where, like, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, of course, but for me lately it's been Instagram. You know, I just love, I don't know, I like the community, I like the culture there. You're going to have to find me. I'm at Meghan M. Biro. By the way, out there, community, if you're listening, find me on Instagram. I'm loving it. I'm just finding that, you know, it's just that place for me right now. And, you know, we all ebb and we flow when we go through changes. But I think it's just, I mean, I think you and I could actually unfold this as another topic completely. But let's talk for a moment about this global picture. We know, I talked about this a little bit earlier, but we know that other countries outside of the U.S. have strong educational initiatives in place to promote math and the sciences, right? I mean, this is a speculative question, but what would it look like in 10 years from now, right? Speaking of 10 years, if this country were to reduce the number of work visas allowed each year, and how could this action affect our economy? Because this is a political topic, I'm not going to lie, as we know.
It is. It is. And we definitely need to grow our own and tap into our human capital here in the United States. But as our world becomes more global, we do need to tap into and learn from others as well. We have an infrastructure in place to build this workforce, but already have a shortage in STEM areas. So how do we get enough people to fill these positions if our country would reduce the number of work visas allowed each year? And that could hinder our ability to compete globally in STEM areas, which is so important to be able to keep our role as the United States. And two, I think about even my in-laws, my own family. My father-in-law came here from India, and he was on a student visa. He stayed on a work visa, and he eventually became a U.S. citizen. And he spent his life as an engineer here in the United States. He has patents that are used worldwide for offshore drilling. And now my husband is here as an OBGYN, another STEM field that is a high need shortage area. So these different contributions, yes, lots of STEM in
lots
my family.
Lots of STEM going on over there, lady.
Absolutely, it's so important. But too, if we were to reduce that number of visas and those contributions, I think it could be devastating to our country, to our relation with other countries, and to our economy.
This is not the time to be doing that. We're already suffering, frankly, in my opinion. It's like, uh-oh. I hope everyone kind of keeps that in mind, that not what we need if we want to be future forward, right? If we want to be looking ahead, staying competitive. What's so strange to me is that we live in a country of people who relish technology, right? Think about it. Smartphone usage is skyrocketing. skyrocketing, right? Intuitive cars are now in demand, medical tech advancements, especially here in the Cambridge and Boston, Mass area where I'm living. They're growing every day and have essentially extended our lifespan as humans. With all of these things being so important to us, why do we still have such a disconnect with being a developer of these technologies? You know, and I'm not talking about just here in Cambridge, because, I mean, I'm really lucky in that, you know, a lot of my career has been here in the Boston and the Cambridge and the 128 belt working with high-tech brands. But that's not the case all over the country. Let's be honest.
Right.
You know?
And I don't think that it's our society being opposed to being a developer of technology as much as not knowing where to start. I know I come up with some fascinating ideas, but I don't know where to start with them. And with STEM education, we're giving folks a starting point. So if you have that basic knowledge of STEM and you know how to tinker and play with these concepts, I think that that's part of it. It's just not knowing what the first step is to become a developer. So by providing those tools, I think that we could see some change in this. And then, too, I think that it comes down to engagement, the priorities. You know, we have things that are handed to us that we're able to use, so we don't necessarily need to go out and develop something. So I think that as STEM continues to grow and as we get competitive in STEM areas, I think that we're going to see some changes in the area of becoming developers of technology.
That's way cool, and I'm glad to hear it. So, you know, we only have about 4 more minutes left here. What closing notes of encouragement do you want to leave with our listening audience about how they can help the STEM movement? And fill us in also about what you're up to next. What do the coming weeks look like for you? Where do we find you? I'm excited that you're going to be doing more blogging, right? And you and I are going to be putting our heads together about collaborating more, which I'm really excited about, because this is, I think, where this and business comes together is really important. So I'm passionate about working with somebody like you to say, what can we do as a team? You're coming from one unique angle. I'm coming from another. Let's make something work here that's positive. So tell us.
And we need to make those connections everywhere. So I think that pulling business and education together, supporting education, teaching is the career that makes all other careers possible. So how do we really combine what's happening in the workforce, making sure that teachers and educators are aware of what's needed? Over the summer, we hosted an event called Lesson to Life, where a group of educators actually went into 14 different companies in Arizona in the Phoenix area, went into the electric company, to medical companies, went in to see what's happening, what's the cutting edge technology, and to ask questions about what we can do to better equip students. So I think making connections and really building the bridges so that there's not this disconnect between what's happening in education and what business and industry needs for their future employees.
Sounds good to me.
And then as far as what's coming up, so I'm at a conference right now in Vegas for career and technical education. It's called the Vision Conference, and we have over 5,000 folks here to talk about education and STEM and making those connections.
Oh, nice.
And I was looking through the list of the vendors and exhibitors, and we have tons of folks with just expertise in so many STEM areas. And we're closing off the conference on Saturday. We have an event called STEM is CTE, and the whole focus is on how we can support women and minorities and increase the number of folks that are entering into STEM and CTE careers. So that's
awesome.
something that I'm really excited about, and to see how that unfolds.
Well, I'm glad you're there. I know conferences are such a great op to just, hang out with people in real life, shake hands, get to know each other, and really understand, what is happening. It's so important to stay tuned. So, listen, we're out of time. Rachael Mann, thank you so much for being my guest today. This was awesome. And we're going to continue this conversation not only today but into the future, because it's an important one.
Absolutely. Thank you, Megan.
Thanks. Over and out.